Hi there. This is On Stuff with Jeff, where I'm Jeff and I talk about my stuff. Welcome to a bonus Crypta Metallum video. Almost a week ago, Matt at the Accusation Network did a video which he called the MGP Metal Origin Story, where he talked about all the different albums that led him towards becoming a metal fan. He also said, comment or do your own video. And, so this is me, Matt, doing my own video. I guess we'll start with the first song that I really felt a connection to. And this goes way, way back when I was a little itty bitty kid. Whenever my family would go over and visit one of my aunts and uncles, Uncle Norm and Andy D, my mom's oldest brother, I would beg them to put on a particular record, and that record was really just for one song, Bobby Vinton's "Roses Are Red, Violets Are Blue," and they would put it on. It was one of those old cabinets. Well, I don't know. A lot of you people out there watching this video probably haven't even heard of these. Well, there was a time in the 70s where you could get a stereo, a whole stereo, but it would be in like a large cabinet, and it'd have the two speakers on the outside, and you flip up the top and there would be the record player here, AM FM radio here, and on this side there would be an 8-track. So no cassette, just an 8-track. And I would sit there in front of the speakers, kind of like this. Just was sitting. I listened to it about 3 or 4 times, and a couple of days ago, my Uncle Norm died. It wasn't COVID, although they were in lockdown. It may have been some sort of brain, like he had some bleeding or something like that on his brain, and I guess this video is for him. Thank you, Uncle Norm. You love to tease my mom and I, but you always made us laugh too, and we're gonna miss you. Okay, so yeah, so there you go. The roses are red, violets are blue, I guess is a starting point. That's about all I can remember really listening to before that. But before we moved to Nova Scotia, I started out in Hamilton, Ontario, but in '75 we moved to a fishing village called Terrace Bay in Nova Scotia, and I started listening to a lot of my mom's stuff because my mom left, had left her job to be a stay-at-home mom until we got old enough where she could trust us that we wouldn't burn the house down. So she went back to work. But I listened to a lot of I love my mom, and she died too. She died at the end of 2019, just before all this garbage. Anyway, so needless to say. So this is, Tom Jones, Say You'll Stay Until Tomorrow. She loved that. She once told me a story about how she went to a concert in Halifax, and a nun threw her underwear on the stage, watching it. That's, my mom was raised Catholic. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And some other stuff that I listened to when I was a little kid. Tom T. Hall, all I remember is like there was some song about a snake that drank root beer or something. Sneaky Snake. That's the one, Sneaky Snake. So there you go, Tom T. Hall. I think I might have seen somebody put this up, mentioned this one before, but yeah. This is another one connected to my mom. This is a Ray Richards Fabulous Ink Spots. It was one of the fake ink spots, because the ink spots were banned from the 40s and 50s, or 30s, 40s, and 50s. Kind of like harmony jazz vocal group. But they actually performed, like they played a little bit. They came to my mom's house for a birthday, and played a little bit of their music. And as you can see, I don't know how much you can see, but They signed it. I don't know if you can see any of that. I might be too close. No idea. But yeah. So I vaguely remember that. But I thought it was cool that I met that we met somebody who was a musician. Moving on. There's other stuff like, I grew up in the 70s. So, of course, I like disco. And I guess with the disco, there's a little bit of theatricalness to it. I mean, that's when they started using lots of flashing lights. So this is the dual record set. Disco Fever has all the classics. And yes, I still like disco. I'm not ashamed to say it. I still like disco. When I started to form a lot of my own, a lot of stuff. I would listen to stuff with my dad too, and this big record set from Reader's Digest, Roger Whittaker, a Canadian easy listening singer. Let's see, you can. There's and the song that I really, really liked was The Last Farewell. I really liked that because I knew that my dad's dad had served in World War I with the Fighting 18th. The Fighting 18th was Canada's largest commitment to the war effort for World War I. A couple of years into the war, he got a serious eye injury and wasn't able to properly aim. He wasn't able to sight, so I think they put him in. That was my cat, Daisy, sneezing. Hey, Daisy, little peanut. And he went to forestry, I think, but he was still all those big battles that we know about in Canada, like from the Somme. The first time like chemical warfare was used. The mustard gas attack, the Canadians plowed through, and the British and the French were like, oh, I can't do it. Then Vimy Ridge and one of many, battles. So yeah, I love that one. Roger Whittaker. And of course, back to some more of my mom stuff. This big set of Elvis. I remember I picked it out with my dad for Christmas one year. So let's see if it has a big a fold out. All those Elvis, all those old. There's, There's a bunch of his old albums. But yeah, it has all of it, like the one that came out in 1980, the Love Song compilation. Lots of Elvis. Yeah, my mom loved Elvis. That was, yeah. I remember the day Elvis died. My mom was very, very upset. She went out once. He toured Canada by train, and she went out with a bunch of other fans to watch as his train went by. That was and from there we go to classical. I had having seen Star Wars in '77, like a lot of kids, I really liked the music, and my dad saw an 8-track of it was called the Star Wars, A Stereo Space Odyssey, and it had some pieces from the soundtrack to the movie by John Williams, and on the second half it was called the Stereo Space Odyssey, and it just kind of demonstrated what speakers could do, demonstrating stereophonic sound. It had a little bit of the rotation of the planets and stuff like that, and my mom got me this, Hooked on Classics. And what this is it has excerpts from a whole bunch of different works of classical music with a little drum beat, like a Casio keyboard drum beat type of thing in the back. I listen to this quite a lot. I imagined stories that it was a soundtrack to stories, just like how the soundtrack to Star Wars made me feel. So this kind of also, brought more of my imagination into the music, into how I appreciated music. Then, of course, there's this one here. Classic Canadian retro city rock. I guess this is how I would describe these guys, or these gals. They're an all-women band. Toronto, get it on credit. Wow, I listened to this one a lot too. It's got a lot of great songs like Break Down a Barricade, Your Daddy Don't Know, which was their big hit. Let's open up the record here. There you go. Even has like a custom label, which I thought was kind of cool. Well, looking back now, I think it's quite cool because usually it'll be just a bland label with just the name in normal font. Start telling the truth. Your mystery to don't. Yeah, like there's Get It on Credit, Sick and Tired. Oh man, I love this song. This album. And my sister got it from my mom, and I'm the one that ended up listening to it. Now, when I was still in Nova Scotia, my dad had this working partner, Mr. Rust, Ted Rust. He lived in Dartmouth. We lived in a fishing village on the opposite side of Halifax from Dartmouth. So, he introduced me into harder music, and he introduced me to Queen. Also what were they called? Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. But the band I really liked was Queen. I got this. He of course had the vinyl with the gatefold and it flopped. I remember. Just look at that art. The art is. I just wish that I had a vinyl copy of this with that was a gatefold. There was another on the inside of the jacket. There was an image of like him reaching through a hole in the sky, and a couple of times whenever we leave this house, I'd look up in the sky, kind of like, wondering. But so much good stuff. Like it's Queen, man. You guys all know about Queen. Dragon Attack was one of my favorite. That was off of one of their later albums. So good. I think Testament did a they did a cover of Dragon Attack on Dark Corners of the Earth. I think it was one of their more recent albums. But Queen, big sound, passion, orchestra, musicianship, like loud guitars and drums and all that. That I don't know why it took me so long after that to still get into metal, because those guys are borderline, right? And here's another one, Big Emotion, of course. Jeff Wayne's musical version of the War of the Worlds. Richard Burton's last performance. He performed the narrator. There goes my record. There goes the inside here. This was an album that my uncle introduced me to. A different uncle, Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter was the husband of my mom's young baby sister, Annie Sherry, and he had a lot of music, and I having ADD, I would often get very I would be moving around a lot, so he got me to listen to this by sitting me next to the stereo with my headphones on. So I got a lot of enjoyment out of this, and then finally got a copy of my own. Obviously, this is based on one of the first science fiction novels, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. There's lots of art in here, and this piece in particular I've seen replicated across different types of media. My dad told me about the time that there was a radio show put on in the States in the 50s, dramatizing the Martians invading, and apparently it set off a panic because a whole bunch of people thought it was real. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's another one, the red weed, the red creeper. And of course, there's Preacher Nathaniel trying to cast out the demons, the green flash in the sky. And of course, there's the delusions of the artillerymen imagining a world underground. That's amazing. Very, very Jules Verne. And of course, the end of the story. And there's the back. Tells you who was in it. Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues, and as I've said, Richard Burton's last performance. That was pretty big. Again, loud. Very passionate, very scary, and like aliens, and just like. And the way they made the sound of the Martians made was basically, I think it was a guitar that was played backwards slowly. The guitar was recorded slowly and it was played backwards, and that made the sound the ooh la, that type of thing, for anybody who's familiar with War of the Worlds. This is this band, Electric Light Orchestra. New World Record. This album here, this is the CD. I bought this just several years ago. When I was a kid, where did I put it? Here we go. I had it on 8-track. This is cassette. I bought this, in the early 80s. But I had this as an 8-track, and I burned through the 8-track. I played it so much that it was done. What can I say about those guys? The music was dark. It had a lot of it was the cello rock. Loud sounds. Had a bit of the rock and roll, because I know Jeff that was his name, right? Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, the guy behind Jeff Lynne. Yes, it was Jeff. Jeff Lynne. He really liked rock and roll, and he also loved, some of the Beatles' transitional between their early "She Loves You, Ya Ya Ya" stuff to their more interesting music, so it had a lot of elements of that. This album, so this one I loved, and I still love it today. Tightrope, their single, of course, Rock Aria. A Mission, a New World Record was my favorite song on the album. So with an alien who came down to Earth and thinking that hearing, oh, mankind's so awesome, they're great and nice and happy. It comes down here and everything's crappy. So that, again, little bit of questioning ourselves, criticizing society. Again, that's another thing that led me to metal. So Fine, Living Thing, of course, the other singles. Where is it? Where is it? Is it not? Oh, Shangri-La. Yeah, it was on the second song. It was the last song on the... No, it wasn't. Okay, I always thought it was the last song on the album. Anyway, Shangri-La was another one. A big, strong, powerful sound. So yeah, I loved these guys. Electric Light Orchestra. If you like metal, give them a try. And of course, I like storytelling, so I like this guy. Again, this guy is quite divergent from heavy metal. What I remember, what affected me so much towards metal were his big, long story songs, like The Crusader, which is the name of the album too. It was 10 minutes long, which back then for me, wow, a 10-minute song, how do you do that? and I loved it. And it turns out, of course, it also, I love history, and so I decided to read up on the Crusades, and it was interesting to find that Richard the Lionheart and the Crusaders were the bad guys. you know, Saladin was a good guy. Well, as good as you could be being a leader at that time period, right? He was a patron of the arts. He sent his soldiers to protect Christians from the Christians, stuff like that. So anyway, so that was a long story, an interesting story, and that's another thing. Now here's another one. I'm just going to try and go quickly. Corey Hart. This one, Boy in the Box. There's a bit of a misprint here. I don't have the poster, I think, in this one. But there's the liner. There he is, the pouty face. Very, very beloved in Canada. Classic Canadian pop rock. He had some political elements in his songs that back then made me think in a way that you do when you're first introduced to politics as an idea. That again, politics, interest in politics, social issues, thinking about back then the Soviets. Let's see. After that, that was the second album. This is his third album, Fields of Fire. This one had the song at the end, Blind Faith, really helped me understand what I was feeling at the time, because I was trying to figure out, how do I think of myself if I don't believe in God. Not that my family was super religious, some of them were, but not so much my mom and dad, although my mom still wanted me to believe in God. This album helped me out a lot. I still love that song, Blind Faith. It's a very simple song. It's a long song, not a lot of lyrics to it, but just like the idea, struggling with those types of thoughts, everybody around me believes in God, but I can't see it. I don't understand it. And it's, so another band, let's see, what should I do first? Okay. Glass Tiger. Here we go. Not a very heavy band. Their biggest single on this was Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. And I hated it then, and I hate it even more now. Here's the, you can tell that it's an original, one of the first released. It's got the cool red part here. But the reason why I like this one was because of the song, The Thin Red Line. It was a vague story about some battle in Scotland. Or maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it wasn't Scotland. Maybe it was Scottish soldiers fighting. I can't remember. Anyway, I like the war element to it, so. And of course, around that time, we'd moved to London in 1984, and I spent a lot of my money I earned in the summer working for Dickie D. That's the bicycle ice cream people, the ones that a lot of people get annoyed by. And I bought a whole bunch of extended remixes, and that was the Thin Red Line remix. Let's see, let's go faster. Okay, here's another one. Progressive rock band, Big Country from Scotland. I remember watching a music video for The Teacher, and I saw a Volvo car in it, and I remembered that there was a Volvo plant in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I grew up, and that piqued my interest, and I bought this on cassette. I don't know where the cassette is, but this is a fantastic album. You owe it to yourself to pick this up. It's got so many great songs on it, and not just like everybody knows the single "In a Big Country." That's like from their first album. That was their biggest hit. They never really had a hit bigger than is even close. But that wasn't even close to their best song. Like "Poor Old Man" is such a great song. I remember the listening to the blues, Tony Butler, the blues on that. That was that song, the way, like throughout this album, the way that he used you know blues to form a melody, as opposed to just like basic like full notes type of thing. That like I loved it, and I became fascinated by it. I mean, there's so many good songs on this. Oh man, and my eyesight is not what it used to be. Let's see. The Storm was a good one. Oh man, that was a good song. Lost Patrol, another good one. Close Action, and of course Pearl Man. Oh geez, such Big Country. It's not country, it's progressive rock. And of course, this is one of my favorite albums by theirs. Steel Town. I'm originally from Hamilton, grew up in Nova Scotia, originally from Hamilton, Steel Town, Pittsburgh. You're not the real Steel Town. Hamilton is. You even stole our colors for your football team. You suck. Go Ticats. There's man, and this is another one. I can still listen to this album. This song. Oh, I had like something called the picture book from that album. It was like had a whole bunch of pictures of the band in it. I've got it somewhere. I couldn't find it. And of course there was their EP Wonderland, which is another good song. And see, like Big Country really did affect me a lot. Like it really changed my musical tastes. I began to look for more interesting music because of these guys, and I guess that's why I'm showing you this. This is their last great album in my view. Like Sailor, I listened to the last song on the tape. I listened to that one quite a lot. Another one of those like a little bit longer than normal songs. And of course another band I got into, a little bit weird. Not hard rock, but again, it pushed the boundaries of what type of music I would listen to. So it's widening my taste a little bit more. This is a little bit more rock album. Still The Cure, still like weird poppy stuff, but The Cure. I mean, Cure is a great band. Still like them. The Police, of course. Everyone loves the Police. Well, the band anyway. That album, Synchronicity. Again, storytelling, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of depression, anxiety. And in reference to Corey Hart, I also was a big fan of this guy, Bryan Adams. But then he came out with this. He stopped doing most of his own writing, and he switched to a writer from Great Britain. And his music became it sounded more generic. It sounded like this was still had a bit of that, like 80s Canadian, homeboy rock feel to it. But it was already really becoming more like, just more like a commercial. Too commercial. I mean, I know. A guy who had a popular love song is accused of being too commercial, but it just seemed like he wasn't the same band anymore, and that drove me even further away from that type of music. And of course, there's this one too, U2 Joshua Tree. Also, I love this album. Of course, a little bit more political stuff in this. You probably know most of the songs in here. Kate Bush, back to the weird stuff, more creative. This is her compilation, pushing the boundaries of what I was able to listen to. And of course, I think I mentioned this on one of my other bands. This was another band that kind of like was a little bit heavier than rock or hard rock, a little more atmospheric. Love this band, or at least this album. Their other stuff I was like okay with, but just something about this album, it really hit me. And then a friend of mine, being a huge history fan, I heard that these guys, Rush, had they had a song here about the Enola Gay and the attack on, and the nuclear attack on Hiroshima. So it's like I was a big history fan, history nut, so I picked this up. And once again, little bit closer, just like the final steps towards metal. And I got, of course, before I bought the album, I bought this, that famous artwork. Big money goes around the world. It sure does. And then I started listening to more weird stuff, like, not more weird stuff, more heavy stuff, like Killer Dwarfs. This is another classic Canadian, borderline hard rock metal band. We stand alone. I remember the music video with them stamping the record labels in their basement, and another one where he was like packaged in a box and mailed somewhere. Let's see. Now I had this friend when I was working. This is we're living in Mississauga now. Moved from London to Mississauga in '88. And I started working at a mall, local mall, and I met a guy, and we really hit it off. I introduced him to tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, and he introduced me to metal. And some of the first stuff I started listening to was probably a lot of the first stuff that anybody who awakened to metal in the mid to late '80s did, like these guys, Living Colour, They had a little bit of everything, they were like Jimi Hendrix alternative, again, love these guys. I do recommend them as well. And of course, I got into Maiden. It was like, and then that was it. I was into metal. I loved all their albums, but this has pretty much always been my favorite album of theirs. But this is I don't have the cassette anymore. I love this one. I had the one where when it was still called Dune, the To Tame a Land was still called Dune before De Laurentiis made them change the title, because De Laurentiis owned the copyright to Dune. This has so much, like everything on here, like Where Eagles Dare, Flight of Icarus was like, I wasn't crazy about that, but I do love Bruce's vocal performance on it. That's so good. Revelations is a fantastic song. Die with the Boots On, I still love that one. If you're going to die with your boots on. The Trooper, Still Life, I kind of like that one. It's a little bit weird. Quest for Fire, that's another one of Steve's. I saw a movie or read a book, so I will write a song about it. And The Sun and Steel, man, I love Musashi, Miyamoto Musashi. So I love that one. And of course, To Tame a Land, originally called Dune, about the first Dune book. That some people think that's kind of a little corny, but I still love that song. And of course, went straight. And of course, and then we're into the thrash. This stuff here. This one here. Then of course, Testament. And of course, Testament is the only one of those original thrash guys that I still will buy a recent album from. Of course, the grungy stuff here. I still love this album. Alice in Chains. I have what was it? Something Face or Face Eater or Face Plant or something. I've got the one before this. The one with the song that it ends with him going, "Follow me down, sexual chocolate, baby." that was always funny. Facelift, I think it was called Facelift. Yeah, that was a cool album. And then Tea Party, Canada's this is a fantastic album, fantastic band, fantastic album. The Edge of Twilight, Fire in the Head, The Bazaar, The Badges, Silence, Sister Awake, Shadows, Shadows on the Mountainside, Coming Home, Walk With Me. Oh my God, this is so good. Like, it's it's still metal, but it's quite different. It's like alternative, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe, I don't know, similar to what was that Macedon album, the one about astral traveling into Rasputin's body, that album. But yeah, this is a great album. I still listen to that one, and Transmission is another one. Then I started getting into the more hardcore stuff. He played some. My friend played some Nuclear Assault. I thought, oh yeah, it's okay. And then I got into this guy here, Chuck. Of course, I've talked about Chuck before. Death. This isn't, this is probably my favorite Death album. And furthermore, we got this Emperor. Of course, a lot of people. This is your first black metal album, at least in my my experience. This fantastic album here. Spooky Mountainside. Ooh. When I injured my back, I had to, and I couldn't. The bed that we had was bothering my back, so I had to sleep downstairs in the basement. So I would put a lot of black. That's how I got into black metal. I would use it. I would play it while I was sleeping, because ever since I was a kid, I would turn the radio on, and from that moment, I needed music on in order to sleep properly. So I listened to a lot of black metal when I was going to sleep. Emperor, and of course, yes, I listened to Burzum, but that guy's crazy psychopath, dangerous person. And of course, these guys, moving towards symphonic, atmospheric black metal. My Dying Bride, that's another great one. This was their compilation of their three EPs. And one of my favorites, another Death Doom album from Australia, Disembowelment, Transcendence, Into the Peripheral. I listen to this quite a lot. Wow, this is an awesome album. And I hope you guys like it as much as I know at least one of you out there has listened to this. His channel is mostly focused on Death Doom, on Doom anyway. I know that for some people this isn't a great example of Death Doom, but I freaking loved it. Disembowelment. And I guess that's it. I mean, I'm not going to text you more about the Thompson Twins. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got into heavy metal. Started off with regular stuff, progressed to like more interesting music, more dynamic style, bigger sound, more drama, more, louder, heavier, more prominent guitar, more drums. And then finally I was there. I was ready, and I was inducted into the realms of metal. And now that's where I am. So, metal.